All right, I'd like to call to order the Physical Services Committee meeting for Monday, October 23rd, 2023. The time is now 2:01, and a copy of the agenda for this meeting can be found on the county website under the tab for the legislature. Please silence your phones and electronic devices, and would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Carrie, could we have roll call, please?
Benton. Bradshaw.
Here.
Paduk.
Here.
Hotel. Here. Skibby.
Here.
Sweet.
Here.
Menuda.
Here. Here.
One out.
Okay, thank you. All right. First order of business is the budget review for Orange County Soil and Water Conservation District. Could I get a motion and a second, please? Legislator Menuda, Legislator Tui. Michael Ron,
I think there's an echo in here.
raise your, if you really want to be noticed, raise your hand as you say it. Okay, Kevin Sumner from the district, the executive director, is here, and you had a supplemental piece of paper that we got just now. For those of you who haven't maybe seen it. So Kevin, if you wouldn't mind just giving an overview and explaining this year's budget.
Okay. So that one pager that you got today is kind of boils down what's in the bigger book where we're sort of folded in with extension. So this separates out the numbers just for soil and water for the sake of clarity. So I'll address what's probably the biggest question here. The large increase that we're requesting this year is we're requesting a one-time $600,000 appropriation on top of our normal historical appropriation that would be used specifically for construction of the next phase of the Walk-Hill River floodplain benching project. I spoke to you folks in August and covered some of the history of that. Just quickly, as you probably recall, this work was largely instigated by the floods of 2011. And in 2013, we received a $2 million appropriation from the state of New York through the efforts of Senator Bonacek. And that was a really nice amount of money to allow us to focus on doing work and not have to keep looking for the next source of funding. However, we did spend that $2 million, and subsequently, we received a variety of other state appropriations, either directly through legislators or through competitive grants. So the state has funded the work that we've done up to this point at just under $3 million. And that money has been matched both by money that we allocate out of our county appropriation towards the project, as well as other funding that comes to soil and water that's considered local funding. So we've invested about $4 million to this point in the work. And in order to realize the full benefits of this project, we need to keep moving upstream. We've been doing the work in phases, and we have a long ways to go still. So even while we're working on construction this year, we're already trying to put together the funding for next year and think about the permitting and design of the next phase of the project after that. So we feel like we've done a lot trying to secure as many state funds as we can. And we also are trying to balance our work with the black dirt with other upland farming, because that's such a huge project. It would be easy for all our resources to just go into that, and we don't want that to happen. So the most recent round of competitive state funding, we kind of shifted gears from the flood control project, and we wrote that proposal to work with other upland dairy farmers and other farmers as well. So that's one of the reasons why you'll see that our state revenues dropped from 23 to 24. So that's not like the state has decreased our funding. It's because in order to maintain those revenues, we have to keep writing these competitive grants. And so when they run out, then we have to either apply for more funding or look for other sources. So that's kind of the background of why we decided we're going to ask the county if they could help us with the bulk of the construction costs that we anticipate for 2024. We still anticipate that project will probably cost something closer to $750,000, and we'll add, if we are approved for the request that we made here, we will add other local dollars in order to cover those full construction costs.
Thank you. Any questions? Legislators? Please note that Legislator Benton is here. Okay. Seeing no questions or comments, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, the Orange County Water Authority 2024 budget review. Could I get a motion in a second? So moved. Tui and Slater Torres.
Thank you. So we have our 2024 draft budget. I think, as you know, one of the things that we're struggling with in the last couple of years is getting our a grant that we received back in 2018, Water Quality Improvement Program grant, moving forward, and happy to report that we are moving forward with that program, and that's one of the reasons you'll see the grant advance increasing in 2024. You see the increase there, 400,000 to 750. Our Moona Creek watershed pass-through remains the same, and there's some modest adjustments, largely reflecting just cost of living increases in the budget. We do have an increase in the water conservation education. It's going from 75 to 125, and our implementation projects remains at 100,000. We have, without getting into details, moving forward, the acquisition of the property in the vicinity of Browns Pond, that was the purpose of we secured the Water Quality Improvement Program funding for that very purpose. So in order for that to be effective, you have to have a willing landowner. So now we have a willing landowner, and that work is underway. One of the things that Enoch and I really wanted to touch on this afternoon, which is a program that the Water Authority has funded on and off over going back a number of years, is the leak detection program. So we really have some very phenomenal numbers to report. And Enoch, you've done the vast majority of that coordination. So I want to give you the honors of
Thank
touching
you.
upon that.
So this year, late last year, we had canvassed every municipality in the county, they had a water district or not. We're not, correcting anybody specifically. So 30 municipalities replied, 4 of which were seeking reimbursement because they wanted to use their own contractor. So what we've done in the past is just reimburse them up to our contractor's rate to do that. Luckily, we had enough funding in the budget this year to do every municipality that applied to do the grant. We have back all but one report from the municipalities. We surveyed 500 and almost 76 miles. They found 177 leaks totaling 223 million plus gallons per year. So a project that costs us about $70,000 saved about $1.5 million for county
Excellent. Great job.
taxpayers.
But,
Yes.
when you do that, you make sure the municipalities do go, is that part of the grant that they have to fix the leak?
Yeah, so when they
Anything
sign the
with rural water.
application, they give us an assurance that every leak that we detected will be repaired, otherwise they have to reimburse us
I
for the
mean, it
grant.
would behoove them to do that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of them fix it as they go, because they, the contractor gives them the report as soon as he's done, and they get right out there.
Legislator Ben.
Can you just give those individual statistics again? How many miles?
We surveyed for the reports I have to date, 575.62 miles. 177 leaks.
Yep.
And if you want the day, 613,336 gallons per day lost.
Wow.
Per year, it's 223,867,640 gallons.
Wow.
And using the average water rates that I have so
Yep.
far, it's 1.523457 million.
Who had the most leaks?
I think City of Newburgh.
Okay, that would
They
make
won.
sense. because-
Probably the oldest system.
Yes, exactly. That
Yeah.
would make perfect sense.
And they're making significant investments.
Now,
Yes.
exactly.
And the other thing to think about is the water that's being lost has already been processed. So it's there's a lot of money that goes into processing the water, filtering and pumping and all that.
Good.
Any other questions or comments? Minority Leader Padu?
On page 71, 576820 at the bottom, that's specialty payment. In this year's budget, you had zero, but actually you've spent 132,000 already. Can you tell us about that? And if there's any more that we don't know about? You want the page there?
Yes.
No, I don't have the page. I'm thinking that probably should have been under county contribution because that's really all we have, but it might have been one purchase order that got put under 57682, but I'll check on that.
Okay. That's all.
Yeah, it's probably part of our monthly reimbursements. We'll have a
That's
board member.
where the money come from. You paid this guy out and you didn't have anything in your budget. I
Yeah,
mean, you have extra money in your budget, but I just was wondering where that came from. That's all I have. Thank you.
Are you still doing helping municipalities with grants like did Crawford? Really conduit with Crawford? I mean, they probably did their own application, right?
we did
Yeah.
it this round, but we've done it in the past.
You'll continue to do it?
Yeah.
I think most municipalities are doing it on their own, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of, there was uncertainty as to how that was going to all come about, whether it was going to be a Park County district or whether, so that kind of evolved. So it started out more as possibly a multi-municipal project.
Yes.
That's correct. Yeah.
Well, Supervisor Montgomery sitting over there. Village of Montgomery, Town of Montgomery are looking to go for a New York Forward grant next year for sewage, which I guess we can't do water at the same time for the same grant, but there are other grants available that other municipalities can apply for.
Mhm.
You might be able to make us aware of some of those as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we are aware, but some that we might not know about.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, we're always on the lookout for grant opportunities and we usually share that with municipalities, but we'll make particular attention to that.
Resource.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Department of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation. And I'd like to get a motion and a second for the review.
Second.
Legislator Patel and Padu. And this can be found on page 729. Welcome. Thank you. Begin your presentation when you're ready.
So the total parks budget for 2024 is $6,099,354. This is a $682,798 increase from the previous year's budget. That's primarily due to increases in salaries and benefits for the park staff, mostly through a combination of the raises and also additional personnel that was felt that was necessary to appropriately staff the Parks Department. Specifically, getting staffing at Gonzaga Park, where there's really no staffing right now. We're having significant issues with trespass, vandalism on the property. So it would be to have a parks staff presence there through additional seasonals, and also that allow for more coverage for the later afternoon, evenings at parks facilities where there's a lot of events that take place, rentals of the pavilions, and also for the camping at Winding Hills. There's been a lot of feedback that there's no coverage there later in the afternoon. So that makes up a good chunk of that increase, along with increased debt service and some increases to our contractuals line item, which those are mostly for additional cleaning services, adding tree clearing to the contractuals, which I think was previously had come out of our capital lines, and it was indicated that we should put that out of our operating. And then also a clay tennis court restoration service contract.
Questions or comments? We're gonna deal with the golf as well, the
Okay.
special, but I think we'll just wait. As far as I was concerned, that was included in the motion. Okay, so any questions on the parks budget? Yes, Nardi, what you
Thank
do?
you, Mr. Chairman. If I go to page, let me first make a comment. I just want to compliment your department for recognizing you have 18 lines that had overestimated expenses. You submitted them reduced to what I always talk about anyway. We recognize that you're not using as much. Why are we charging taxpayers for it? I think you did an excellent job on it. And actually, you reduced your line $666,760. And I actually reviewed, I've seen additional lines that could be reduced, such as specialty payments and stuff, but I would actually like to make a motion that every department should have line 57990 in it for austerity contractual. So that once we read what you've done, if we see other lines like I have, and I just mentioned specialty payments, could be reduced a little bit, we'd have a line to put that in. Your department doesn't have that line, right? That line's missing from that department?
That is correct. They probably adjusted all of their other lines.
Yeah, they adjusted their line, but I mean, if there's lines that we see, we don't have a line to actually do that, really, right? I mean, put them in austerity contractual so that they still have the opportunity to reduce that budget, whatever budget line it is, to meet that requirement, right?
You can always put that line
Like, I won't make a motion today, but I mean, I think that every department should have that. So if we recognize something, at least we have a place to put it, you know? Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Parks, yes.
It's kind of overall, but Deb, what was was it 13% for the healthcare increase across the board that we were figuring in? And was that thank you, that's what I thought.
All right. Right. I guess now we can move on to the special recreation facilities.
For the special recreation or the golf budget, the total budget amount is $2,843,710. That's up from the previous year, $241,815. However, the county taxation decreased by 4.8%, which is approximately just under $34,000. That's mostly due to a projected increase in golf fee revenue. That was definitely the biggest chunk to offset it.
Any questions or comments? Legislator Tortel?
Given the horrible weather we've had this summer, is your golf revenue still on target for this budget, or are you below the mark right now?
We're projecting that we'll be $92,000 over our budgeted revenue. And as of right now, we've had 14 days of closure at Stony Ford and 8 at Hickory.
Right.
So if we didn't have those rain days, we would far exceed what we
Right.
budgeted.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments? Minority Leader Padu?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 750, 585009, inventory maintenance equipment. I see every year like 2022 was $509. We've spent like $2,180, and you've asked for a pretty big increase. Can you tell me why? Or what is that for? For additional 10 grand or something?
We could look at the color sheets. It depends on what the staff requires or what they need for the year.
Well, the only reason I'm asking is because the inventory facility site equipment, there's nothing there. I mean, there's a little bit this year, but you've asked for nothing. I'm just, maybe you can tell me what all that is. When your inventory equipment's gotta be over $500,
Okay.
right? When your inventory equipment, it's over $500 that you keep track on, whether you're putting the county stamps or plates or whatever you put on them.
Yep, let me
So that
just
if they're
look at
left on the
the,
site.
so for Hickory Hill, they're looking for an air compressor, a shop vac, a nut bolt washer cabinet, a chainsaw, a cutting unit rack, and an upright vacuum. And for Stony Ford, they're asking for an air compressor, a rolling tool cabinet, a top chest toolbox, a chainsaw, and a upright vacuum.
So that was asked for under that line. yeah.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, and each
That
year it
clears it up
varies.
for me. I wasn't sure what that was. Thank you.
Legislator Tui?
Yeah, I just have a question on 563960 golf course superintendent. Is that's superintendent, right? It has SUPT.
Yes, yep.
And do you have one at each course, or is it one that oversees both courses?
We now have one at each course.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
And the assistant golf course superintendent, I think, has been eliminated from the.
And then that's, and then they oversee the golf pro. So the golf pro, you have 2 golf pros too?
There's just one.
One golf pro, it goes back.
And that's a
That's
contract.
contract.
That's a contract.
Contracted out.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just.
Minority Leader Perdue.
One more. I know we had our survey or our maintenance, whatever it was on all of our parks went out. And I'm hoping that you're gonna tell me, is it here or in the capital plan that there's money for what you guys decided on the
Museums?
on
Is
the
that what you're talking
museums,
about?
yeah, the museums and stuff like that? Is that in this budget somewhere, and how much is it? And can you tell me, is it in this one?
It's
Or is it
not
in
in
the
the-
contractual?
It's not in the operating budget. We have one line that in the capital that we can go over later that there'll be money there, that we can use some of it for the museums.
Wait, you'll be told later?
We'll be,
When we get
We're
to
gonna
the-
talk about capital.
You're gonna tell us later?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Wasn't sure if it was in there.
Any other questions or comments? Yes,
I should have
Legislator Ben.
probably asked this in the first section. Cromer Hill Park, the tower,
that would be a capital project that is.
For the
is not-
future?
it's For the future, it's not in the plan right now for 2024.
okay, good, let's remember.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Lee was blocking your right hand.
Always, always. Thank you.
Majority Leader Fazio.
I was trying.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to just compliment Travis as our Parks Commissioner. You know, he's put into this position recently, and coming over from DPW, you are a fine asset to this county. I just did some quick math between park visits and the golf courses. The estimate is over 800,000 people have either visited the parks or have participated at our two golf courses. That's a compliment to the whole Parks Department. And this budget, these portions of the budget seem most responsible considering those numbers. So compliments to you, staff at Parks, and to continue to see the success that people enjoy when they get out to these parks throughout Orange County. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more.
Okay,
Three of them. Legislator Tortel will start.
thank you. Page 753. This is for you for Deb, under debt services P and debt services I. We had budgeted 76,326 for P and 32,841 for I. Yet year to date, nothing was paid out at the end of the year.
Usually
And
it's at
then
the end of the year.
we're increasing it, both of them, the debt service P by 72,282 and 27,293 for I.
Yeah, it depends on when we go out for bonding and such, and they'll have an increase this year.
And what are these bonds for, do we know?
It's for our capital projects, the principal and interest on projects.
Everything.
Thank you. Both of them?
P is for principal and I is for
Yeah,
interest.
sure. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Minority Leader Padula.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I want to congratulate you guys on recognizing overestimated expenses in your budget. You reduced your contractual lines by $152,591. I'm just happy to see that and just say, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Legislator Ben.
Can you go back to page one? Because you said your budget was up 600,000, but my page one says 800,000.
What's the page number?
729, 730.
We'll let budget answer that question. I believe it was an error in the book.
Oh, okay.
So what happened is we had to, we didn't realize that we had to, yeah, I know. We had to clone another book before we did this chart, so.
Okay.
We've now done that and.
And what is that number now? Because it was said so fast.
It's the number that's in the spreadsheet at the bottom, the 682.
Okay, right.
That is the correct number.
Okay, that just wanted to check. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, at this time, I would like to call the question on the budget review for park special recreation facilities. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, capital. Could I get a motion and a second for the capital?
Second.
Legislator Menuda, Legislator Ben, thank you. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
First item under Parks Capitals is the raising of county-owned buildings for $100,000. This is to basically take down the dilapidated structures. The first, the two that this is aimed for right now is the White House at Thomasville Park. The sheriffs have been using it for training. I believe we provided pictures of these two locations. But the building is in a deteriorated state. There's significant mold damage. Pretty much all of the building elements need to be significantly addressed. You know, roof, siding, the windows are missing. Basically the exterior is sagging and in rough shape, and the building in general is just in horrible shape. So that would be to abate any hazardous materials inside and demolish that building. The other one is the at Winding Hills Camp. I believe it's the old nature center, but my understanding is that it's full of black mold and it's leaking all over the place, and the building's in very rough shape.
Any questions or comments on that project? I just have one. Has the historian been consulted relative to the buildings? To make sure there's no
I don't know.
historic significance.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll check.
I think it's a step that we should take.
Yep. And we'll have that answer before we come back for the to request that capital.
Legislator Menuda?
Just a comment. I know what we've done a complete assessment now of all of the historical buildings. But to be steadfast in that we don't let these buildings get into this level of deterioration going forward. We can do some sort of task force to do that. I think it's prudent. It's going to save us a lot. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. All right. You can go ahead to the next one.
Paving various parks locations, this is for 500,000. The number one project on this will be the continuation of repaving the Heritage Trail from Chester to Monroe. I think that the intent is that would take place later in 2024, once the bridge decks, the wooden bridge decks are replaced with new concrete decks. And then it would also be for paving at the Warwick Park entrance road going up in there, the parking lot, Warwick maintenance garage parking lot area, and some other paving at D&H and Thomas Paul.
Any questions? Okay, next.
Prefab restroom buildings for 150,000. These are concrete prefabricated restrooms that basically are set in place. You have to hook up the utilities to them. This one is intended for my Sally's Dream at Thomas Paul Park.
Questions?
Just comment.
Minority
Yeah,
Report.
that's for 150?
Yes.
Did we ever look into a cost of the trailer that had, there's 3 or 4 bathrooms, ladies, and then, and what the cost might be for that? Because that was the only thing we talked about in regards to the possibility of promoting our parks and having other events there.
It's $8,500 a month for a trailer with 2 stalls and then a handicap stall.
What about purchasing?
I didn't look into purchasing.
Oh,
That's through our contract with the Porta John Company right now.
So you didn't look into of us purchasing?
No, I did not.
Because I always said that because we could be using it all over the county. You know, if you have
It
an
depends
event
on the
here,
maintenance portion of it, how much we could be moving it around and utilizing it.
pulled by behind a truck, I mean, it's not a big deal.
You have to have water hookup and electric hookup at the location, so it's,
All right, we'll talk about.
We could
that
look
when we get
into
to the
it.
Next thing, yeah.
The Farmers Museum, the best they have there.
Oh, yeah.
Big stuff on there, something.
For this particular application
Yep.
at Sally's Dream, this is going to replace an existing bathroom that's
Correct.
there. Right. So there was a permanent facility there. It's going to be replaced with a permanent facility. And I think if I remember from the capital plan meetings, the discussion was that these facilities are much easier to clean than some of the others.
They're made so that you can wash the entire interior down, hose it down.
Just the modular kind of thing?
What was that?
Modular, is it kind of? No.
I believe, I have to look into it, but I think that they crane it in and set it.
they
in
do.
one piece.
Mhm. It's all concrete.
It's like they do in some of the national parks.
Correct.
Right.
Mhm.
Legislator Menuda.
Just confirming, these are obviously ADA compatible,
Yes.
right? And as far as, there's regulations with regard to restrooms and how many are required for facilities. So they have to be permanent and only infrequently can they be transient, right? So, I mean, you have an event and then you can have them, but for the most part, they have to be there permanently by law. So purchasing one may not be the best option unless we're going to be using it 365 days a year and according to different facilities. So, but then you got maintenance costs, you got pump them out, there's a lot that goes into it. So just my comments, thank you.
Yes, Legislator Tutel.
That you're proposing will be set on a foundation and not portable, correct?
They're not gonna be portable.
Okay, because we do have several portable units. I know county brought an ADA compliant portable unit down to my community when we had flood for the shelter. And how many of those portable units do we move around?
We don't
We
move
don't
them
have- we don't have
around,
any
we
of
rent
those.
them.
You rent them? Because I was supposed to have the county logo on it.
I
No? Okay,
Not that I'm aware of. No. We work with a company.
okay. Very great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on the prefab building. The location that you're gonna put is permanent, right? So the
Yes.
plumbing and everything has to be done first?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's
Is that-
there was a restroom that was
So you're gonna
previously
take that
there.
there and hope that this new one fits, or they measured it out there?
They measure it all out and
Okay.
make sure everything fits.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right. I think we can move on to the next item, please.
Next item is building equipment replacement. This is to replace aging equipment, and for, oh, sorry. Parks capital, various capital improvements, for 200,000. We had, slated for this, the roof replacement on the boathouse at Thomas Bowl Memorial Park. Some concrete sidewalks and patio at D&H Park. And to utilize this as needed for fencing replacement, along with tables and chairs at a handful of our facilities.
Questions or comments?
So
Already
this
in your
is
position.
none of the money that we're talking about in regards to upgrades at our park? Is there any money in it? That's not the money? You're gonna tell us there's another line that has a lot of money in it, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure.
Six, 5 or 6 down. There we are.
Next one is building equipment replacement for 50,000, and that's to replace equipment unforeseen emergency equipment replacement such as boilers or AC units or things like that. Next one is parks equipment. The plan for this was to replace one of our work trucks with a 2500 Chevy. The truck that's replacing is over 15 years old and the frame is rusted out and is in pretty bad shape, along with 2 mowers, 2 72-inch mowers, and a tire changing machine. Next capital is Stony Ford golf equipment, and we're looking at replacing a 2006 Toro Sand Pro, along with a fertilizer spreader that the frame on the fertilizer spreader is rotted out and no longer usable, and also replacing a 2002 Chevy work truck with a new Chevy 2500. The next one is Hickory Hill golf equipment, and that's to replace an aerator that has a broken frame and a fertilizer spreader. And then the next capital is historic structures. So this capital is intended to continue with some of the restoration at Algonquin Park for the powder mill structures, and then also to be utilized for some of the initial museum, the 3 museum buildings for repairs or renovations at those facilities. And then,
And just let me interject, because I know that at the last meeting I said
Right.
we wanted to come back with the discussion of the report, and I decided, given the level of effort we were going to be putting into the budget, that it was better to delay it until next month. So we're going to be back to have substantive discussion and going over the report that we got a couple of months ago.
So is there a way to supplement it if we approve this?
There's probably always a way to
Well,
supplement it.
I know there is. I'm just saying that that report might, if we had the report already, we know what to ask for,
Well,
the increases.
I mean, we have the
have the
report,
report.
and that's about,
But the
what are we
recommendation.
talking about spending at Algonquin for the powder mill?
it's not a big chunk of this. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so the biggest chunk of this 3.5 million is going to be available for the museums.
700,000, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but
So-
it's also-
Over the couple of years, yes. And we also have 200,000 and change left in the museum's capital as well. To start with some network. Next capital is the Ottaway Center. This is for 900,000, and this is for the construction portion of the reconstruction of the Highway Center, which was damaged with fire.
And you did skip over the Arboretum Event Center.
No, that's less.
That's the last,
6 million?
yes. So
That's less on our list.
Our
list is.
Sorry.
I apologize.
No, that's okay.
So then the next one is the Arboretum Event Center at $6 million. So this was originally, there was a smaller capital set up with this, and the vision on it was a smaller pavilion type event space where they would have retractable sides, so it could be open air, or it could come down and the facility could be utilized, 4 seasons out of the year. When we started the design and working with the design consultant on this project, they immediately identified that with the size of building that we wanted, we were going to have fire suppression at that point. Because I think they said anything over maybe 100.
99 people, 12,000 square feet.
Correct. So that immediately drove up the cost of the project significantly because there's not municipal water there. So you'd be looking at a tank, fire pumps, or a large hydromatic tank to provide fire suppression. You're talking about a tank that is like 30 to 40 feet long and 10 to 12 feet in diameter. So it adds a whole nother level to the space you need in the building. And at that point, the thought was if we're going to be spending that kind of money to have fire suppression, to have around 100, 150 people in the building, the thought was to do a little bit larger building that actually became more of like an event space. So this would be for, I believe, 225 people, comfortably seated, in a traditional like wedding type of a setting. Otherwise, you could have space for, quite a few more people than that if it was, without the tables. Sides that are open up on the building, it would be like an Adirondack style building with sides that open up so it can be open air when the weather's nice, but can close when the inclement weather, so that you could have events 4 seasons out of the year. We started looking at comparable event spaces locally. There's not a whole lot that are available, but the ones that are, when we started looking at the rates they were rented at, and then we looked at half of the available weekends, projecting it being rented for about 50% of the available weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The revenue that would be generated by it would more than cover the principal and interest in our projections.
Are there endowments toward this building as well?
Right now, there's not.
Legislator Menuda.
Sure. So I don't know if I missed a meeting somewhere along the line. I don't even remember hearing about this event center before. Where did this germinate from?
This was it was listed as the pavilion, the Arboretum Pavilion, I think.
Right, we had an
Previously.
existing capital project for it.
Right, so. Okay, I associated that with the existing arboretum that we have, so I don't really have enough information on this particular item. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think we circulated some plans that, it's just a conceptual.
This is to rebuild it, right?
No, this is a separate center.
This is
not the
in
arboretum.
addition to rebuilding the Ottaway Center. So it would be on the, basically the location, it would be on the side of the landscape planter area. There's a open lawn section where the people usually put up their tents when they have a wedding there.
And you said this was an existing, it was approved at a prior, like,
Yes.
move it in this direction? I realize you're just coming into this, but this is quite surprising to me.
I had heard of this plan being associated with somebody's name, but I can't think of what it is at the moment.
I don't recall there being a benefactor.
That was probably the annual Chris Education Center.
No, no.
No, you know, this first I'm hearing about it too, but it doesn't sound unreasonable.
Well,
We run our senior center out in the village of Montgomery for village residents for $400, which is extremely cheap, and out of village residents for $600. And we're booked quite often. But this is kind of in tune with doing something at Hillhold, like you were talking about, for quite a bit more, but it's, I mean, we know what barn weddings are and city winery and, you know, I performed one up in Dutchess County last year, which was a beautiful venue. So I don't doubt for 1 minute that you know, you probably could pay the fee and, you know, the interest.
That's not.
No,
Is there a committee on this?
No, so that was one of the things that we were going to, if this was to move forward in the capital plan, we were going to ask if there could be legislative representation on during the design process. on it.
The ME Center, we had a committee on the ME Center that was originally 7 million. This is 6 million. This is a pretty big deal to be bringing up. It's kind of for me, it's a little bit of a showstopper, but that's just me.
Again, this is the first bite out of the apple. There are going to be subsequent bites out of the apple relative to our involvement. I appreciate the fact that you're looking to get a committee together and that it will include one or more legislators on that committee. So I think, you know, moving forward, we're going to be participating.
But the thing for me is that we don't even know if it's $6 million. This is just a number that's being thrown out there. Correct me if appropriate, okay? It's a number that's being thrown out there that we're approving in a budget for $6 million for this year. There's no way it's getting constructed this year. By the time you finish with design and concept, you're another couple of years out. So I don't understand why we're approving $6 million for this year.
It's only the plan though.
So there's a design already that's been being worked on. So there was a capital that was set up where the design was started. And the design consultant was recommending on the construction cost side of it, around $800 per square foot when you factored in all the, you know, the different components of the building. Even though it's not as, you know, costly of a build per square foot as say the ME's building, this one has its own mechanicals that drive up the cost for it.
800, it's kind of getting close, but I'm not going to belabor this. It came to me as a surprise associated with the other buildings, so my apologies for misunderstanding. So thank you for elaborating on this.
Any other questions or comments? Legislator Benton.
Going back a step, how are we doing with the insurance and the rebuilding of the fire damage?
The Ottaway building, right now, we have a contractor on site, basically stabilizing that structure for the winter. So it was sheathed. The roof that's remaining had new sheathing put on it. That's the type of material was spec'd out by the architect. That'll be the permanent roofing. Ice and water shielding went down on that roof. The main portion of the building has a special type of sheathing. I apologize if I messed up. I think it's called Striskin panels, where there's the sheetrock and then insulation board, and then your sheathing all goes on the exterior, so you can see the purlings and the trusses.
Like a SIPS. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Structurally insulated panels.
So that portion we temporarily put down 1/2-inch plywood that was screwed in place, and there's a commercial grade tarp roof that is going to be installed tomorrow. And then the whole thing today was being wrapped with commercial grade Tyvek. The plans are at about 80%. So a couple months, we're going to be going out to bid. And as soon as we get bids back, hopefully we can move forward with the contract.
Because it looked pretty rough at the September 11th.
Just a quick follow-up on that. So we're waterproof, weathertight at this point for the building?
By tomorrow, it'll be completely weathertight.
And you're going to have some sort of ventilation to keep mold from building?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Legislator Tautel.
Thank you. It kind of leads into line 106 for the Ottaway Center, $900,000. And I thought everything that was being done there was being covered by the firewalls and by the insurance company? What percentage are they covering for what happened there?
Total was
512,000 is what they provided us with.
On the repair costs, we go over the lighting for stabilization repair. Right?
for the total reconstruction. Yes.
Was that what the limit our policy was, or what was, are we going back to them and saying?
That's something you have to ask risk management. They handle that.
I don't know if you had that conversation with them over the difference of what was covered and what is costing.
We haven't.
I'd like to see if you would, please.
We had
I think
discussed that in
if
a
we-
prior session.
If we have something that we want risk to address, we can do that.
Okay.
But if I may. Well, here, right from the source.
Thank you.
To elaborate on that just a little bit, we are self-insured, but then there was some sort of policy, and I believe that's as much as it covered. That's my recollection from several months back.
All right, legislative two. Yeah, on the artist rendering. So with the sides that go up and down, they're like garage doors with window panes.
Essentially, yeah.
And that would be enough insulated for the wintertime events and things like that. And I see smoke coming out of the chimney, so they'll be working fireplace.
That's the
more
plan.
places.
One large one.
All right, I wasn't aware of the elaborateness of this, but I think it looks great. I think it'll be a huge success. And, you know, with all the events and tourism that's going on around here, that we wanted to get to, you know, and, you know, you see how that is used, and to have an event space for over 200 people, the county would be running and operating. I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Legislator Benton.
Can you send copies for the entire legislature to put in their mailbox?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Send it to the clerk, please. Okay.
Sorry,
If
well,
there are
track
no
there.
further questions or comments, I'll call the question on approving the capital plan for parks. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Travis, you're lucky your office isn't in the White House at Harvest Pool.
All right. Let's DPW come up and we'll start with administration. So could I get a motion in a second to discuss the administration budget for DPW? Second. Martell and this can be found on page 693.
All right, we are about 5.61% under budget. I'm sorry, under budget. We increased budget. We've increased austerity. We were down 2 positions that we were last year, which actually we removed 3 positions. We added 1. So the bottom line is -2. Otherwise, I mean, I guess we'll open up the questions, but the overall, the DPW budget as a whole, without EFS is down to 2.26%, taxation is down 22%. Generally using more surplus, but Melinda did a great job on that.
Is airport included or?
Airport's included in the minus.
In what you just mentioned?
Correct.
Okay.
Everything except for EFS, environmental services.
Questions relative to administration? I'll call the question. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Next, moving to buildings. Can I get a motion and a second to review the packet? Legislator Brescia.
All right, for buildings, we're down about 1.4% from where we were last year. We've decreased taxation by about 160,000. That mainly is comprised of some austerity that we've opened to contractual line items. We are dealing with the Maple building tenants moving out, but then we're moving some of the county departments into the Maple building, so we've removed some of the lease payments that we were making in the Armory building and to balance off some of the losses. Well, that's kind of helped into some of the reduction.
Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Next, we have the motor pool fund. Could I get a motion in a second? Legislator Tui, Legislator Martell.
The motor pool is, I'm sorry, now I was next. Motor pool is down as it has been progressively going down over the last couple of years. That's due to the transition that we've been making to the enterprise leasing program. So naturally, we're not owning as many vehicles, so we're not buying the vehicles, we're not buying the inventory we need for the parts and repairs and whatnot. And we also have not been replacing any positions through attrition. Otherwise, I think we're down to, we will soon be down this year, below 50 vehicles that we own, I believe, in Central North.
To lease out, and we do have some vehicles that are loaners.
Yes.
Any questions or comments on that? Right, seeing none, I'll call. Oh, yes, Legislator Tui, go ahead.
I don't know if I missed what you said, but with the actual leases, your plan is down to 63 with the change of minus 47. So I might have missed it, but how did you say that we got down to that number?
Well, so to make it clear, when you say leases, so we used to do interdepartmental leases, which means the DPW owned the vehicle. Another department would pay from their budget to the DPW budget to basically lease the car from DPW. Currently, now we're moving to the enterprise leasing program, which is an external company. Obviously, everybody kind of knows what enterprise is. So a lot of that money is going directly to enterprise for some of those budgets. The 63 represents the vehicles that we still own and we maybe still be doing interdepartmental leases with outside of the enterprise leasing program. And now we're expecting that number of 27 of those this year will be transitioned out to get us down closer to 36 vehicles.
Okay.
And does that answer your question?
So nobody's going without a car?
No. If we get rid of a vehicle that we own, it's getting replaced with a vehicle that's going to be leased from the outside.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chairman.
And we are, I will add that though, we are going to be working with the county exec's office, with just taking an overall look of the efficiency of the use of the vehicles to make sure we're not just blindly replacing a vehicle with another vehicle and make sure that we actually need it. So we are taking a look.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions? All right, then, oh, yes.
I just want to compliment your department too. 11 different lines and contractual expenses you've reduced quite significantly, actually. And again, I'd ask that maybe your line, every department has 757990 added to it, so that as legislators, if we think or can suggest something that maybe you've done a great job with it by reducing costs. So, I mean, there's just things that we see that we guys, I'm sure you've seen them, that we might ask to have reduced a little bit more and give you the authority to do the work. Okay. Thank you for your job. Thank you.
All right, any further? Okay, I'll call the question on the motor pool fund. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Moving on, the county road fund, pages 108 to 114, and I would ask for a motion in a second on that. Second. Legislator Tui, Legislator Magoo. Go ahead.
Okay, you can see a reduction in the overall fund, and we've got an increase in surplus mainly, and that is due mostly to the MTA taxes that have come in to this fund specifically. Over the years, that MTA taxes sort of surpassed the expectation of the tax, that revenue that was coming in, so it's sort of built up, so we're actually using $3 million more surplus this year than we had in years past, so that in effect reduces the taxation we're taking out of this particular part of the budget. So it's a good thing, we get money from other sources.
Any questions or comments? Minority Leader Padu.
This, page 113, this one has 5799 austerity adjusted contractual. It's $250,000 there. You okay with that? The reduction, well, based, my understanding is that the 3-year outlook has been applied to not just some positions, but a lot of the contractual items as well, some of the new software, so it's making it easier for us to visualize what we're seeing year after year after year. So if that's what we're actually using, a lot of this would be the fact that we might contract for service for the year, but we might not immediately be in contract at the very beginning of the year. So that sort of austerity gives a little bit of time. So we might, maybe we're waiting the later part of the year to actually get it. We're okay with that because I think that's happening naturally. Yeah, because that's one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. Yeah. No, I think that, and I trust that, Melinda in the budget department, they've been looking back at all our historicals to make sure we're sort of progressing in the right direction. I think is that.
Yes,
is that-
absolutely. No, that would be fair.
Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question on the county road fund budget. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, move on to the road and machinery fund, pages 115 to 121. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved. Second.
Legislator Menuda, Legislator Benton, thank you.
Generally, we're just seeing we're going to increase in the labor rates. We're down minus one position in this section of the budget, and we removed an automotive parts dependent in the budget. You can see slight increases in gas and diesel, things like that. And we've also included some increases just for general salaries and the CSE, anticipated CSE union increases.
Questions or comments? Majority Leader Pageant.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner, I just want to compliment you and your staff for a smart budget and so many of the county residents that use county roads to drive to work, home from work, pick up their kids from school, or other activities. We are very lucky to have you at the helm there and your staff doing a great job to keep our roads safe and clean and open. And some of the projects that you guys have done over the last few years really have transformed the look of Orange County to a more modern, safer roadway system. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Legislator Tui.
I just want to add to what the majority leader said is that when I'm out in my district, I get questioned a lot about the quality of the roads that are down in Monroe, the area, and also around the county. And it's never about a county road. It's always about a state road. And the county, your department keeps our roads in tip-top shape. And when I explain it to them, they're all like, "Oh, really? I didn't understand that." So I think people blend roads in together and they don't know which one's which,
We're
but
getting blamed for the state roads.
yeah, so I just want to give you a shout out on that because they're never talking about the county roads. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just, so you don't mind, I'll add to that because we can't do that without the support of the legislature and without the support of the county exec's office also focusing on infrastructure. When I came here, we had a very good program going already, which means the way to keep your roads in good shape is to continue to put the maintenance and the money into that. And we have a very good program going with the engineers that work in our department. We have great support, everybody giving us the money that we ask for every year so we can continue that maintenance and it saves money in the long run. So
Certainly shows.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Legislator Menuda.
Best way to check out our roads is on a motorcycle, so I suggest you all go on a motorcycle and see which ones are the best. And I can tell you firsthand, the county roads are the best.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? All right, I will call the question on the road and machinery fund budget. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Next, the airport budget. Page 92 is where it starts, and can I get a motion in a second?
Second.
Legislator Tui and Legislator Menuda. Go ahead.
All right, generally, we'll just see that there's an increase in the forecast of the annual revenue. That generally, the airport's doing great. Ed's here as well, back up any questions. Been, for the most part, full occupancy now for a couple of years. We have 3 construction projects going on this year, which we're going to be coming to an end in the next month or two, which are great, including the sewer project. Next year, we'll be working on the water project. There are, here, the taxation's been brought down to 0 for this year, showing how the job that I think that is doing and bringing in and making a self-sustaining airport with the revenue and the FAA and the DOT grants that continue to come in to help support the airport. And I think the more it grows, and I think it really shows those agencies the worthwhile to put the money back into the airport. Otherwise, we've increased forecasting for the amount of sales and fuels, because obviously we have an expense line that's balanced by revenue for that. That went up just a little bit because of the success of the airport.
Okay, any questions or comments?
I'm just gonna bring this up under the airport, because it is germane to the airport. It's also germane to planning, it's also germane to public works. I'd like to see us, and I talked to the county exec last week, provide some funding for a traffic study. The town of Montgomery and the village of Montgomery can all afford a traffic study. And that area of 416 and 211 where it intersects, it's gotta be improved. If you want to see improvements at or expansion at the airport, like we have in our master plan there, or in the town of Montgomery, and the county exec is always touts economic development. The town of Montgomery and the village of Montgomery are going to have a public information meeting on November 21st about annexation of property either into the village or the town with, quite a bit of industrial growth. It could be 80,000 square foot warehouses, or it could be 1 million square foot warehouses. And as many of you know, the town of Montgomery has 1 million square foot warehouse and 1.3 million square foot warehouse, which has been huge for economic development. But that traffic area there, and Eric, you and Travis and I met out there a while back. We know it needs to be improved, and you know how I feel about a traffic circle or roundabout there, because it's just not going to fit the carbon footprint, even though we have to go through the process, which is a bunch of you know what. But I mean, there's gonna need to be a traffic light or whatever. And the county owns that piece right there at the triangle, I do believe, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of a nightmare with some of the tractor trailers trying to make a left hand on 211 there. But, I don't want to have a big discussion here today, but I think we need to find money in the budget, or I would push to do it, when we make the adjustments at Ways and Means or on the floor. But it's, it's gonna inhibit economic development there, which is gonna happen in the next certain amount of years, and at the airport especially, Ed, right? You have plans there, and it's gotta be looked at. It's of eminent importance for the county to look at that. And the grid is gonna have to be upgraded out there too. I mean, we had a potential organic farmer, right, Ron, that would have been great for that property out there adjacent to the airport, but the project did need a lot of water, and they went elsewhere. So they were looking at that site, and it would have, other than the water situation, it would have been a great project. It would have looked like a farm too. But I just want you to put that on your, however we look at it, it's plan. Alan Sorensen's aware of it too. And something's got to get done. The future is now. So I'm just putting it out there, and we don't need to discuss it today. I don't want to belabor the length of the meeting, but I want to put it on the radar for everybody to look at it from the county level. And we've talked to the state, we've had representatives talk to DOT and having a bypass for the village of Montgomery. And traffic study needs to be done. But that's all. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. We'll keep that on the radar, as you said.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Minority Leader Padu?
Thank you. On page 98, 76820 specialty payment, I'd like a $35,000 increase there. What is that? What special payment is?
Which page was that again? I'm sorry.
98, 576820 specialty payment.
Sure.
So an increase of 35,000. I just wanted to.
Sure.
Oh, we're anticipating the fees for the sewer connection. Ed, does that sound about right?
It's for the Village of Montgomery
Yes.
sewer payment, annual sewer payment for 10 years.
It's their annual payment.
It's part of the connection fee that we agreed with the village a couple of years ago, the 10-year, $35,000 a year payment.
And we're paying them.
Yeah, we connected into their sewer system.
Right, we would have preferred one payment.
I'm sure you would have.
Out of the goodness of our heart, it was supposed to be one payment, by the way. I can talk as a mayor here, you know. but, Mine is kind of beat us up.
It's a good negotiation. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, on your part.
That's what it's called, negotiation.
So is the purpose of that payment to pay for usage or to pay for construction?
No, it's a fee to connect into the system. On top of that, there's a usage fee based on,
Okay.
Actual balance.
yeah, how much fluid we're sending away.
So just to follow up, this is the first year of the payment?
I think there was a lump sum payment made, maybe around 90,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just wondering.
finally got that
The
payment.
first payment, that was the first installment, right? And now this is,
What's that? It wasn't.
There's nothing in this year's budget for it.
It isn't built yet, right?
No, they completed
the
it.
project's gonna be completed in about a month or so.
In about a month. And then, but it's not connected. There's
It's not
no
connected.
sewage flowing through it at this point. They have to pay for it.
Right, no fees.
Yeah,
Oh, you-
right. It'll take a while to get some facilities connected to it on our end too.
So this is gonna be actually the first $35,000.
Correct.
Okay, that's what my question.
How many years?
10 years. And Ed, do we have structures that will be ready to send sewage through right away?
We're just starting now. We're actually, we're abandoning all the septic tanks this week and last week. And the pump station is set up, so we're pretty much almost live.
But in the end, this will be great for the airport because it'll attract more business. We can have, once we get water in as well, we'll have fire suppression. We can build bigger hangars. Corporate jet type thing, more fuel sales, well, comes full circle.
We give you a water too from the town, right?
Yep. Yep, and that'll give us the fire suppression we need for some of those bigger hangars too.
Right, any further questions or comments for the airport budget? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. All right, moving on to environmental facilities and services. Environmental administration.
Chairman?
Yes,
I just wanted, do we need to do the drain watershed district at all?
that's listed on
Oh,
our
it's in a separate
agenda.
spot, okay.
as-
It's in our book here to see.
Oh, okay.
That's in where I'm, okay, we'll come back to that then.
Yes. We'll do it after environmental administration, even though it's a funny plug-in. I
Okay.
agree.
Okay.
I'll just go with the flow.
So I'll have, I'm gonna have Melinda and Cindy swap for a second and we'll come back up. Or
Oh,
it's pretty simple.
well, all right. No, as long as you're here, as
Okay,
long
we're
as you're here,
here.
let's do the drainage and watershed project. I didn't realize there was a
Sorry, you
swap
should have,
involved.
yes, yeah.
That's quite all right. All right. So can I get a motion in a second to discuss the drainage and watershed with Menuda and Duke? Yay. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, this comprises of 3 different districts, the biggest of them being Beaver Dam Lake.
Page 122, sorry.
Beaver Dam Lake, Prom Line, and the Walker watershed. Generally, what you're seeing here in the reductions, the budget is a reflection of Beaver Dam Lake. They work with the advisory board and they've decided to reduce their budget. They are actually using less surplus as well. But there's other line items that decreased, like purchasing equipment and things like that, because they made some purchases last year and they no longer need as many new purchases. We also had a reduction in dam consultant services, one that we thought we budgeted a little bit higher, the bids came in a little bit lower, so there was some savings there as well. The requirements of the DEC, basically to monitor and maintain the dam that's there.
Questions or comments? Yes, legislator two.
Yeah, Commissioner, when they, so the communities, that's your other revenue they're paying into for homes and commercial use?
Correct.
So that's what.
Yes, it's not general taxation, it's a special district.
Okay, thank you.
Legislator Menuda.
Again, nice job with the DEF project. It's been completed, everybody's happy about it. There's something about a pipe underneath it. I don't know what that's all about, but that's been brought up.
Yeah, there's something that our engineers are looking at. I think it was not part of the original construction of the reconstruction, but there is an older drainage pipe that we've been monitoring.
Okay.
And they did, I think, a really short drawdown this past week, just to get it below the spillway so they can take a look a little bit better. And they'll be pumping out the parts of the spillway.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Minority Leader Paducah.
Just page 125, 576820, specialty payments there. There's a $23,000, $24,000 increase because there hasn't been many in the past. What is that?
You said it was specialty payments,
Yeah,
correct?
right.
Not special.
Yep, 576,820.
You might go have to change that name so you have to look harder next year.
It was. What page was it again? I apologize.
25.
576,820.
It was the 30,668 and you're questioning the $23,000
Yeah, it was an increase
Okay,
of 6,700.
Sure. So this year they have budgeted flags. They have a sewer tax that they budget for that would come out of specialty payments. They have payments for election inspectors. So every year when they do the election, they have people, I believe other constituents, taxpayers that monitor the election, restocking of fish. Now that the dam is open, they're able to replenish the fish there. And then there's also some appraisal fees and title search fees
For easement, I think associated with the dam.
with the dam.
Oh, with the dam. Okay.
So it could be the appraisal and title search easement fees.
Okay. Thank you.
And again, they're spending the money, but they're also paying for it.
Right.
Did I get that right? Election inspectors?
Yes,
They
Yeah,
have their own elections too, right?
yes,
Yeah.
for their board, correct.
Oh, thank you for clarification. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question on the drainage and watershed project budget. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. And we'll get back to the capital stuff later. Please don't leave. Don't think you're getting off without the capital. I know everybody's hoping I was gonna forget, but I was gonna be reminded, I'm sure. Okay, so environmental facilities and services, environmental administration. Could I get a motion and a second to review the budget?
Second.
Legislator Tortel, Legislator Menuda, thank you.
just give me 1 second.
Take your time. And this starts on page 719.
All right, so this is administrative for environmental services, or slight increase of about 127,000 for the year. And again, this is some of the administration that, some of these increases which combines with sewer and landfill, correct?
This sewer and transfer station covers the admin building, which is Bob Anthony. Part of this is Anthony's contract. So that was a little bit of the increase.
So it's a little bit of the landfill side, a little bit of the sewer side. That's all built back to the correct location.
Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question on the environmental administration. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
I just,
Oh, yes.
okay, all right. So we have different DPO threes that are in the book today. One of the orgs from the sewer district somehow ended up into the landfill, so it was adjusted. So we have new
Okay,
DPO
carries.
threes for it, carries passing on that.
Gives out.
Now,
I apologize.
that did not apply to the administration part,
No.
correct, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Yes. So in landfill, you'll see we're down about almost $630,000 on the expense line item overall for expenses. We are budgeting conservatively on landfill. We have seen a reduction in the tonnage for MSW and single stream recycling. Various factors involving basically more competitors opening their doors or increasing their daily limits with the DEC. Our rates, we plan on keeping the same right now. We believe we're actually slightly higher than the majority of the communities around us, slightly lower than a couple other ones. So we're sort of in a good spot, I believe, with the rates for the time being. We'll be taking another look at that throughout the year when our contract comes to an end with our haulers, and we have to see where we're at with any rebates or extensions on those contracts. But overall tonnage, we're seeing a decline from last year to this year. So we're budgeting a bit conservatively to anticipate possibly even a little bit more of a decline, hoping that we're wrong. But we want to be fiscally responsible and not falsely to be too optimistic with the tonnage that comes in.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do we attribute the downfall?
Well, we know that one of the competitors that is also in the vicinity of New Hampton has been bringing a lot of the trash directly down to the rail service. So what they've done, typically they used to hit their limit towards the end of the month. I said the monthly limit. When they would hit that limit, we'd see a lot of the overflow after that because they'd have to basically shut down for the end of the month. That's not happening anymore. They're bypassing, they're going directly down the rail, sending it down on trains or something. So they've essentially freed up some capacity very locally to our transfer station. I believe there's another competitor that actually increased their limit with the DEC. So they're able to take more loads. I believe there was one other one that recently opened their doors. And I did hear also Taylor Recycling, I think, is going to take full load taking MSW as well. So it's a balance. You know, we generally look at, should we increase our tipping fees or not? We always have to balance that with the market, what our competitors doing. We did take an overall look at what each one of them are all charging for tipping fees, and we are comfortable now not increasing our fees, but it does increase taxation a bit because of the anticipation of less tonnage. So we're going to continue to keep our eye on it.
Legislative touch.
So what you can see about that line right there, and then this one, if you could reduce to the big increases there.
What are you looking at?
Page 6 of the handout, there's an increase of,
So it's item 577100, increase of 587. That's on the maintenance and repair services. You want to get that?
Yeah, over the past couple of years, because of just the situation, a lot of our repair and service companies would not lock in. So we would go for a repair, and this repair was 500 this week, but next week we went and it was 800. And we were doing a lot of that over the last 3-4 years. What we're trying to do is get a lot of service and maintenance contracts and get them locked in for their hourly rate, plus the percentages that they're marking us up on parts, any type of delivery fees or pickup fees. So we've increased our contract and maintenance contracts, which is 577090 and 100, to lock these guys into a price. A lot of the contracts are maybe only 3 or 6 months, but when our trucks are going in once, twice a week for this or that, or we have to get our pump serviced, or we have to get the landfill service or anything like that, throughout all of EF&S, we're trying to lock into a lot more contracts instead of just being willy-nilly. So you'll see on both budgets, our contracts are a little bit higher because we have locked in. And on each one of them, I have to lock in a certain amount of money. We're hoping to keep those expenses a lot lower. So even though the contract might have said I had to lock it in at 10,000, we're trying to keep to where we would only be maybe 6,000 or 7,000. But we had to put it at that price to get the guaranteed hourly rate that we wanted, or the markup on the parts that we wanted. There was a lot of negotiation going back and forth with contracts. Like now we have them with Healy's for our windshields. Before we would go in and I would spend $500 to $800 on a windshield. Well, now for the next 6 months, I go into Healy and I'm only paying $350 on a windshield. We go through a lot of windshields at the landfill. Things kick up. So things like that have fallen just through the cracks, that's just adding on expenses. We're trying to really get them locked into certain accounts. We know exactly what we're spending.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other one you referenced was a contractual expenditures. You're looking at this, but this might be the bottom line for,
That's the whole line.
that's
for
the whole
all
line
of
for all.
them.
Okay, so that's the summary. That's just the adding up all the.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Legislator Menuda.
Thank you. So just to qualify that, so you're seeing a difference in labor rates from month to month
Oh, yeah, definitely.
for the same service?
Oh, yeah.
Not just material costs?
No, not just material costs. Yeah, we bring them in, like our cat, we brought in the one cat, it went in for repairs, went in for the normal maintenance and all of that stuff. I got a bill for $1,026. We brought another cat in maybe 3 weeks later and my bill came in at over $1,500 because they told me that the oil went up. Parts that they need, I don't even pretend to know all the little things. Jeremy handles that. But every time he turns around, like batteries started at 135. My batteries now are 195.
Right, but those are all attributable costs to materials, not labor itself.
But they're maintenance and service contracts. So when
Okay.
we go in, it's not only for the maintenance and the service, but it's also for the part. So before we had to where the contracts, they would only mark up 10% or 15% on a part. Well, we were getting 20, 25, 30% they were marking up on us. No. So now with these contracts, they're guaranteeing me that they'll only mark up my batteries 10%. My hourly rate will only be 135. You might only get me 3 months, but for the amount of times that we do go back in and out, it adds up.
Thank you
So,
for the explanation.
so that's why the contracts you'll see is higher.
Legislator Tui.
When they're, so if you're doing these short-term contracts, then usually something goes up and never comes down. So it's not fluctuating up and down. It's pretty much always consistently in 3 months. Nudging up a little bit,
No,
or does it come down?
Knock on wood, because of our specialty of being garbage or store, whichever one you want to take. They're very willing to work with us. And because we are the county, we guarantee them constant work. So all of our contracts will have a renewal. They'll have 2 or 3 renewals on them. And our vendors we've had for quite a while, so they do work with us very well. And they like the idea of getting locked in on the constant repairs. So we're not jumping from one place to another either. We're guaranteeing them a constant income coming in. And a lot of the guys around this area are liking that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other questions? Yes. Legislator Beck.
Oh, just a comment. We're not permitted for MSW at Taylor.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was
But you're now
somebody told me that.
bringing in construction, C&D, I think it is, you're now bringing in?
We've been doing that
Okay,
for
but you.
30 years.
Okay, because, yeah, Brian just told us
Is
that
it
you're
household?
opening up a door for another one besides
Is
just
that
the.
household solid waste you get? Would they bring in?
Bulky cleanout. We've
Okay,
been doing that for years.
Okay. All right, so maybe misinterpretation of what somebody sent to us, so.
No problem.
But anyway, in general, the competition is going up as far as we know.
yeah.
Minority Leader Paduk.
Thank you. The third phase of the Sandhill, 76820, your specialty payments are what? Because I see what it is this year, but for next year, for about almost $41,000. What year is it? What are they for?
Okay.
136.
What that number was?
136.
576,820. 12. I'll take one down from the top on page, on the third page.
can answer.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
moved, she moved things from the specialty materials to other accounts, so she moved some advertising and she moved some.
Wait, that's what that's used for? If you need supplemental money in something else, that's what it's specially payments are?
So basically what she did was she had some other stuff in here where she moved out of that account. So she moved out of the account to go advertising for some of the software she moved into a special account. We can tell you what.
That's okay, that's what the $40,000 reduction, I just wonder what they paid for that, not being paid for.
Yeah, no, no.
They just
Paying
moved.
for it.
Okay.
Not a reduction, level.
Better term.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Did I get a motion in a second on this one? Okay. So let's go there now for the sanitary landfill fund. Could I get a motion in a second? Second. Legislator Tortel, legislator Van. And is there any more discussion or questions? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Next, can I get a motion to discuss the sewer district fund? Legislator Tui and legislator Tortel. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you know, sewer is a special district. So it's not general taxation. Generally, we're up, I think in the vicinity of 9-10% overall the budget. It's generally good kind of business as usual, increase in labor rates, increase in materials, increase, electric bills, chemicals, those things that are keeping up with inflation rates. It's for the most part, what we're gonna see here. We did have some, a senior engineer for the budget, I believe, in 2023. We did just recently replace the plant operator, the senior operator who retired. And we do have a new hire there as well.
When's he start?
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. All right. I think we're set to move on to capital, and let's start at the bottom and go up so that people don't have to leave and come back. So I'd like to get a motion to discuss the capital for environmental facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, legislator Nuda and Tui.
All right. All right, we've got, I'll do this with you, starting at the bottom, so we're going sewer district, pump equipment. You have anything? Right there.
Page 6.
What page is everybody on?
Page 6. top
Thank
of,
you.
65.
Yeah, it's same line.
Yep, 330,000. Sewer district pump equipment. I believe that's just maintenance.
That's a replacement in unit
Replacing.
2, which is failing.
We have replacements in unit 2 for sewer district pumps above that. You want me to go line?
Yes.
Keep going line by
Yep.
line? Okay. Sewer district vehicles, we have lifting vehicles.
Yes, we have 2 vehicles that we need replaced. The one has given us problems since the beginning, so it's constantly in and out of repairs, and it's got 130,000 miles on it. So since we don't have warranty or anything, so we want to replace that. And the other one will no longer pass inspection.
Above that, we have,
Just what are those vehicles?
we're going to be placing 2 pickup trucks out of this road crew.
And that's gonna cost 320 something.
No, that was a combination.
When you're paying 50,000 over retail, you know? That's what's going on out there.
Come on, everybody wake up, I'm not supposed to have to do this. I'm relying on you.
I was waiting for the second part of it. I thought there was more.
The first one is going to be, no, I'm sorry, the first one's going to be Mike Dwyer's roll-off truck with the CCTV camera that they have to replace. And the other one is the truck that won't pass inspection. That they're gonna be doing the replacement of vehicles.
So not pickup.
One is a pickup, well, they're both pickups, but one gets a CCTV scan camera.
It's like a box truck.
Okay.
TV. It's a box truck. TV and sewer. It's a van. Huh? It's a van? Big van. With the equipment. Said roll off? With the equipment. With the equipment, but there's also a roll off.
This is the CCTV.
Okay, so it's not a pickup, just a small. Got it, okay. We can overlay the pickups, you know, roll offs a little different. Right? Yeah.
But there's 2 of them. $8,000 on the last one, so that's 500 miles
Thank you.
with replacement.
I don't know.
Maybe you want to go on to the skate.
Yep, above that is the, let me get back to this spot. SCADA system upgrades, that'd be done at the sewer plant.
SCADA is the monitoring system. Electronic monitoring.
Yeah, the alarms, pump controls, things like that, that are automated. And that is 125,000. We have, above that, we have the sewer longevity, 3.9 million. That's actually going to tie into the Harriman sewage plant improvements. So we're working through the legislature now. Mostly that will likely cover design. That will be coming up soon for the expansion of the plant as well. The longevity and the expansion have been basically combined.
Legislative maneuver. What's the projected project cost on that? If 3.9 million, it's just design.
It's a lot, hundreds of millions.
So we're looking 390 million, basically, at 10%?
North of that. Remember, it includes collection system to upgrades, not just the plant.
Okay, any other?
District users gonna live in.
You want to move
Prior to
on
that,
to the?
I'm sorry, we did have, should you find some more detail on the roll-off truck, was estimated at 240,000 with the camera system. and everything.
Yeah, right. Roll off, yeah, makes sense.
And the other one was a pickup.
Right, that's the other, right. We're going with the 2 pickup trucks to replace that.
I've, on the motion, we lumped sewer and sanitation together, so if you want to work your way up through the next 3 items as well, please.
Sure. All right, transfer station vehicles, we have a list for that. It's the next one going up. That is 1.32 million transportation vehicles. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, keep that up here. Roll-off truck for 230,000, an excavator for 320,000, and a truck tractor for 190,000. They're trading in all the old units.
Above that, transfer station methane building rebuild upgrade.
Yeah, that's, there's a,
Vehicles in there.
Wait.
Oh,
Yeah, the
sorry.
vehicles in there.
We're at 1.32 million on the vehicle.
Yeah, all in there.
You roll off is 230. Oh, yeah, it comes down to 1.32. Oh, you only, because she didn't read off the loader, the backhoe, and the yard jockey truck.
Got it.
She had 3 that were highlighted there. She only read the highlighted ones.
Got it. Thank you.
And it does, she has a spreadsheet, it adds 1.32. That was the number, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Because you only said 3, it was like.
Yeah,
Get tongue-tied in these.
Good.
Get a little nervous.
It happens.
All right, but,
methane building, it's the building that used to collect the gas off the landfill. no longer used. We want to renovate that and use it for storage in conjunction with the household hazardous waste events, going towards probably having more frequent events. And the building will be used for that.
What do we do with the methane now?
There is none. There's no, it doesn't generate enough. It doesn't,
Great.
it's vented, but it's not collected.
We can have more catch station?
What's that?
No.
We'll talk.
All right, lastly, we have transfer station equipment, which is compactor boxes, 2 of them, control panel, motor and pump, 280,000, and a trommel screener for 210,000. At a total of 490,000. And that's the end of the list that I have here.
Legislator Benton.
Trommel screener for the composting.
No, it's more for the, I believe that's used at the CMD pad. We process material and build the pad, and if you go out there, you'll see there's bins starting to fill up. Material that the department will use instead of buying processed item. Pretty much anything. we can make.
Any further questions, comments? So at this time, I'd ask for a vote on the capital budget for environmental facilities. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. All right. I think we'll head, might as well work our way up from the bottom. Airport is next, so capital plan for the airport. Can I get a motion to discuss?
So second.
Legislator Nuda and
Yeah.
Benton.
Either or.
Back to.
Yes,
What do we have for this? Sorry, capital for the airport.
Right at the front.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just flipping between screens here.
Yep. I think that was page 5, correct?
Yeah. Page
2024 here.
PG, okay.
Page 8, 9, here you go.
Sorry.
That's in 2024 only. All right, airport. First item, start from the top, the environmental assessment, master plan. I do want to get into it.
Actually, we have.
Oh, it's on the other page.
Actually, wait, B is
Nothing,
nothing more.
nothing
Yeah,
for
okay.
24. That's,
Item 1 is.
page 8's probably your best page
Yes.
because
Page
that
eight.
only has
I
24.
got it blown up. So I
Yeah.
don't
All right.
see 20.
So there is an item 1 on, what is item 1? No, there's not.
Page 8, not page 5.
Correct.
Thank you.
Environmental assessment, go ahead, master plan.
Master plan environmental assessment, it's the smaller assessment. We're discussing whether or not it's even going to be needed because of all the items our environmental planners have been looking at. So it's going to be a discussion item with the FAA if they require us to even do that. We might already be flying without it. But that's still to be determined, so we've left it on the capital plan. Again, it's 90% Fed, 5% state for the funding.
Construction commercial hangar, construct commercial hangar.
State project, 90-10 funding, scheduled to bid next year. There's actually 2 funded hangars that we're going to be building in tandem as far as state projects to try to get a 21,000 square foot jet hangar. The only challenge that we're running into right now is the inflation when it comes to structures and construction in general. So the current funding is probably going to give us 3/4 of what we're looking for. There will be a discussion as to whether or not we might still try to do the 21,000 by asking the county executive and legislature to support bonding for the difference, since this is going to be a revenue item. And it's a revenue item that does not have an end in sight as far as demand.
All right.
Can you just clarify that for a second?
Sorry, you're looking at two hangars for 2.1?
We have
Or
funding.
21,000 square feet total?
Yeah, we have funding for 2 hangars. One is, these are 2 different state grants. I tried to see if the state would allow us to combine both grants and build one structure, but by virtue of their grant system, they can't because it changes the scope of the original award. So what we have to do is we're going to have to essentially build 2 hangars at the same time and connect them.
Totaling 21,000 square
Right.
feet? Okay, not each.
No, totally, yes.
All right, so it's about $100 a square foot. Thank you.
All right, next is the self-service fuel upgrades, lane design and construction, 450,000 total.
This is bill money. The airport received about $800,000 over 5 years in bill infrastructure money. So we have, the fuel farm is one of the projects, and that is going to, be presented as a design item for next year.
Taxiway ENF rehab, in total.
Yeah, this is slated for design for 2024, and then the 2-year gap, and then construction happens in 2026. This is to replace pavement that's well over 20 years old. Again, funded 90-10, 95 and 5, I'm sorry.
Okay, security upgrade, design and construction.
Actually, the timeline for this is we received the state grant on Friday for this money. So this is going to be 90-10 money. This was a competitive grant, so I really didn't have information. I just had to put a placeholder for this. But we did get officially notice on Friday that we got 1.4 million to upgrade all of the security cameras, gates, everything for the airport, which was really, we've been waiting for this. This is great.
State grant or federal grant?
State 90-10.
Remove miscellaneous,
Just, so do you intend to accelerate your spending on the capital plan? Because right now you've only got $100,000 in for 2024.
We are considering doing that, Mr. Chairman, absolutely. Since now it's known that the money's been awarded, this is like a high priority project, so we'll probably come back requesting support on that.
all right, remove miscellaneous obstructions, design and land acquisitions, total 3.1 million, 1.6 2024.
Yeah, this is one that, when this was put together, was slated. We're having meetings with the FAA this week. This might push to 2025. But right now I don't have that answer yet. So I'll be getting guidance on what we're going to be applying for as far as funding this year. That's right now on the schedule, but I suspect it's going to push.
It looks like 1.44 million in federal aid.
Yeah, that's largely for land acquisition. That's land acquisition funding.
Next is airport paving, non-FAA, 50,000 for 2024.
So the airport is trying to put about 10% in our revenues from our real estate back into the airport. The FAA normally will pay for taxiways, runways. They don't typically pay for ramps that are next to T hangars for revenue purposes. So what we're doing is, because we have pavement again, that's pretty old, well over 20, we're trying to put about $50,000 to $75,000 of pavement into airport ramp areas every year to essentially continue to make the airport attractive for revenue by plane owners. So we're essentially, for the last, I want to say at least 8 years, we've been requesting funding for pavement work.
And lastly, for the airport infrastructure capital improvements, 250 total, 50,000 2024.
Again, along the same lines, all the buildings, all the real estate. The real estate of the airport generates about $1 million in revenue annually. And so we're trying to put back between pavement and buildings, 10% in repairs. Mainly, this money is going toward door, roof, and some structural issues that come up with the motors that open the big bifold doors.
Legislator Menuda.
Just a question on the paving. I'm imagining the airport spec asphalt will be different than anything else. What's the average life expectancy on that? You mentioned 20 years a couple of times.
Minimum 20.
Okay.
Depending on where the pavement's going will determine the spec. Obviously, the runways have the highest spec and compaction requirements. Ramp areas by T-hangars, because T-hanger airplanes typically are smaller and less weight, have a little lower standard. So essentially pavement that you put on a road is sufficient for ramps by T-hangars, but obviously for ramps holding a jet or helicopter, heavy helicopter, we have to have a higher standard. But most of the higher standard pavement is supported by FAA funding.
That's 20-year minimum.
FAA also has that requirement.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question on the airport capital projects budget. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we'll move on to the county road and machine. I guess it's listed as transportation items in here. So I'd like to get a motion and a second to discuss the DPW transportation capital projects. Legislator Menuda, Legislator Tui.
Okay, I have Ryan McGuire behind me, also the project manager, and management team who handles a lot of the bridge projects. The various drainage improvements, that's generally an annual request. Culvert capital, 100,000 bonding, chips, typically 2 culverts per year. I'm currently planning on County Route 41, which is Wheeler Drive, County Route 12, which is lower, for culverts and various culvert maintenance projects. And CHIPS portion this year allows us to capture materials with reimbursement request as well. So this is basically an annual ask we've seen before. This allows us to keep up on the tremendous amount of drainage improvements we have around the county roads. Next is the new, I believe, Newburgh Garage replacement. So that, and there are, do you have pictures, Ryan? On Route 300 in Newburgh, New Windsor border is our Newburgh Garage. Badly in need of replacement. We plan to use the same site, demolish completely the building. There's a salt barn on site that we're going to keep. That salt barn is much newer than the building, so we're not going to touch that.
Thank you. The barn, I mean, it's all.
Oh, the salt barn, yeah. It's tough to see maybe from some of the pictures of this, but there's some structural cracking in the garage building. There's also lack of office space for our highway maintenance supervisor over there. So it's very much in need in repairs. I'm not sure when that built. Travis, you know when that was built? Do you have any idea?
Dates on the side of the building, but I don't remember.
Okay.
70s maybe?
Oh, built in 1958. It's been a while and it's in dire need of replacement. It's a prime location. We did, as we're looking at it before we invest the money, we asked our highway maintenance supervisor to let us know if we want to stay in this location. And he said absolutely yes. He says, very great location, quick access to the main roads for plow trucks. It's centrally located for the district that he manages. And I move on to the Mountain Hope Garage improvements, 1.5 million. This is an improvement, not a total demo and rebuild. This is for expansion, basically doubling up on the garage space that's there, which is much needed. It'll be a 30 by 80 addition on the front of the garage, including lighting, ADA bathrooms, mechanical upgrades, and concrete floor repairs. Like I said, it allows a double stack of the trucks and the equipment, with additional storage areas for an office for the supervisor as well. It seems like historically the office space for a lot of these supervisors is somewhat ignored, and they just field guys, but especially nowadays, they definitely need a decent office space, especially to get some separation from the crews if they have to deal with some issues.
We have a building like that, not quite as bad as that. If you look at it today, it's beautiful. The
Yeah.
nicest building in the county.
Yeah.
Party plank, truss roof, we put
Yeah.
on there, redid the whole thing.
Yeah.
But It's this existing structure now,
Yeah,
but not quite as bad as that.
yeah.
Close.
Just the clarification. So you sent this image out, right? So that's the Newburgh facility.
That's Newburgh, yeah.
And this is,
That's what, no.
that's Mount Hope. Thank you. Okay.
Again, Mount Hope, we're just gonna do an addition, we're expanding. So I'm fixing the existing facility. Go ahead, no, sorry.
Same size garage doors on the one we're gonna knock down that maybe you could save for the same as the one in Mount Hope? I mean, are you looking to do any of that?
I mean, we can, I don't know if they're the same size or not. Certainly if there's anything there we can salvage, we will, but I imagine if the doors are,
Construction.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine they're rusted
Yeah.
out. Garage doors.
It's all salt.
Salt.
Yeah.
You're putting
Yeah.
a masonry building back where the Newburgh.
We're gonna do partially masonry and then we're gonna have like, the steel, corrugated panels that go up the rest of the way in a roof.
Yeah, I'm looking at this saying it's 1958. It's lasted this long as masonry and you got, the steel's gonna corrode in no time. So,
Yeah, I looked at that too, because you're close to that whole storage shed.
yeah, salt's right there.
And
All that,
At the airport, you gotta keep right ahead with all the aluminum props and everything, you gotta keep the salt way away. Joe brings up a good point on this.
all that erosion down below, that's all salt and water over the years.
I believe that last bay was the salt storage for that district.
That makes sense.
And
So I'd say go back masonry, but that's one suggestion.
We're in contract now with consultant looking at that, right?
yeah, that'll all be fleshed out. once we-
All right, county road improvements, 300,000. This is generally an annual request. Combining the previous annual capital projects, general road evaluation improvements, including traffic signals, intersection site distance, lane lighting, and guide rail. Previously had 2 or 3 different capital line items that we did an annual request for, but we're finding they cross over so much, so we're going to consolidate those into this line item. Non-highway paving, DPW 100,000, that's our typical annual request. We have, we know now we want to do maintenance garages for 150,000, the Goshen Complex, 400,000, potentially some more work at the airport. Warwick Garage in 2024, and possibly Great Court Heritage Trail parking lot as well. Already planned for that. And sometimes we add things in during the year as well with those items. Montgomery Salt Barn, that's over by the airport, very much in need of replacement, 425,000, 72-foot diameter dome, and 10-foot walls is planned, the capacity of 2,800 tons. Currently, its capacity is 300 tons, so it'll be a nice improvement there. Keep moving. Highway paving, obviously, very critical from our conversation earlier. We typically go around 1.3 million is where we kind of find if there's sort of our sweet spot to combine that with the state funding, the CHIPS funding that we get. Generally doing anywhere from 15 to 25 miles a year. But this year we're doing about 25. I think we did even more than 25 last year. So that money goes a long way. Next is heavy equipment, 1.5 million. Generally, that's fleet replacement annually. Anticipate this year for 4 plow trucks, 3 maintenance trucks, 1 piece of heavy equipment, and 100K for replacement of attachments and components. Next, for construction, the lower road culvert replacement, 1,500 or 1.5 million. This is a Bridge New York grant awarded this year, 100% state funded. So you see there's going to be 0% bonding on this. That's County Route 12, Town of Way Beyond it. The design is currently underway. Next is construction of the Farmingdale Bridge, 3.8 million, 191,000 of that's bonding. This is also a Bridge New York project. Awarded last year, 95% federal funding, Town of Blooming Grove, County Route 51. Bloomingburg Bridge, next for design, 450,000, 11,250 of that is bonding. This is also Bridge New York grant, 95% federal funding. It's in the Town of Walk Hill, County Route 76 over the Shawangunk Kill. Includes deck replacement, railing, sidewalks, concrete repairs. Next is design of the Pelton Bridge, 100,000, Town of Warwick, County Route 1 over the Waverly on the Creek. Next is design of the Highland Falls Bridge, 100,000, that's in Village of Highland Falls, parking lot entrance over the Highland Brook. It's 32 foot wide, built in 1981. Next is design of the Gardnerville Bridge, 300,000, Town of Minnesing, Carter Road, Rutgers Creek, 94 foot span, built in 1929. And lastly is construction of the Gardner Town Bridge rehab, 400,000. It's in the town of Newburgh, Gardner Town Road over the Cosay Creek, 42 foot span, built in 1974. That'll be an in-house bridge replacement.
Legislator Costello?
The Highland Falls Bridge is part of that covered by FEMA because that was damaged during the flood.
I don't think it's on the website, because I don't think there was enough damage to.
We did repair any damage temporarily, and we're gonna go back and complete those repairs.
Yeah, that was like some temporary repair. You can still,
Right.
there's still like, tape and snow fencing up on it.
But that's not gonna be included in this, so that's gonna be a claim for the damages that were incurred. We're planning to design a replacement structure.
But part of the town they're working on now is they're going back and they're doing it to, with the option of building it better storm resistant.
Sure.
Or resilient. So I didn't know if they were looking at including that in their FEMA package for 75% coverage. So how does that play in
I'll
with
look into
us?
that,
Yeah,
for sure.
be sure to let me know. I
I
appreciate
will.
that.
Yeah, and I know that Dominic Green and Emergency Management has been working with the consultant for storm resiliency improvements for different projects. He's reached out to us. We've been,
Right.
just this past week, so we've been,
I just
the process of getting back to him on this, yeah.
One of the meetings that they were talking
Yeah.
about.
yeah, and I know that bridge, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, it had some damage on the rail. Structurally, the bottom of it was solid. The decking was solid. Yeah, and I think it had some materials misplaced, so we're a little bit worried about scouring and whatnot. Basically, replace some of the large boulders and whatnot, so.
Other questions, comments relative to the transportation capital plans? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Right, next I'd like to get a motion to discuss the DPW buildings capital projects.
Second.
Okay. Legislator Duke and Patel.
All right, I have Brian behind me as well. First on the list for buildings is the Orange County Public Safety Campus Water Supply. That's something that we are actively pursuing. We're updating reports from that was done, I think, back in 2011 for the wells that are up there. So we're actively looking to pursue retesting and utilizing wells up there for either a primary or backup water supply. So that's what this is about. Currently get the water from Village of Florida. There has been some water quality issues because of the length of the pipe and the contact time, chlorine, so disinfection process. And I do know that there's also been some discussion on the village's end about concern about being over their capacity and the limits from their reservoir during dry periods. So they're looking to see us as an outside district user get off of their water supply if possible. Second is the DPW administration building renovation addition that we already have design money approved for. That would be in addition to the building where I house my office. We currently have employees in the basement. We have EF&S down in the, I call it a trailer, but it's a small sort of outhouse building that really they need better working environment. So we're going to get people with natural daylight, get them up out of the basement, get EF&S, trying to get a centralized work area. So we're going to put an addition, looking to put an addition on our existing building.
There was a time when the EF&S was in the basement of the existing.
Yeah, some of them still are. That's that's actually another part of it. Is
Moving
half
up.
the EF&S is down in one building, half of the EF&S is in the basement. So they're all split up, trying to make, utilizing the space as much as possible. We did have a study done. We had an engineering firm come in last year and give us sort of a layout of the space requirements.
How large?
Sorry, do you call it additional size?
5,000 square feet, 2 floors.
Next is asbestos and lead removal. This is the typical $50,000 annual ask that we put in there for situations like that as they come up. We have tried to tackle some larger asbestos projects to try to consolidate our efforts and get more bang for our buck, but we do feel it's important to still have some money there in reserve as we encounter things during some of the older buildings. Building capital improvements, that's also an annual ask. Brian, is there anything specific on that one you want to add?
Yeah, there'll be paving on MCC in Middletown. It's gonna be due next year, so that's gonna be a big chunk of that, and some of it will also go towards the roof on the courthouse next door.
Next is the building equipment replacement installation. That's typically an annual ask also, it's 150,000. Anything in those there, Brian?
That, I have some current monies for that, but we would like to do the boilers and the chillers in the courthouse next year or the year after, so that'll be money, that's money for that.
All right, next is ADA improvements, which typically come up interior and exterior around the county buildings. We also have a study going on to evaluate all the ADA improvements that are needed in countywide and all the buildings. So eventually there'll probably be an ask to come phase a larger project out to gradually improve all those ADA needs. Next is the Goshen garage improvements. That's 1.4 million. And that is the facility across from the administration building. If you go into in Goshen, mainly for the roof of the building, it's an aging roof and potentially for some window replacements as well, which will help also with the efficiency of the building. Next, Camp LaGuardia asbestos removal demo. We talked at the capital committee about putting in $5 million for this year, possibly $5 million for 2024, possibly $5 million for 2025. We're in the process now, actually, by spending some money that was just recently approved by the legislature to clean up some of the smaller buildings that are in the surrounding, spread out over the campus. We've had an environmental remediation company in there, and along with an environmental monitor. And in conjunction with our EF&S staff, who've been doing an excellent job, they have raised a number of buildings out there now over the last probably 4 or 5 weeks of the smaller buildings. Some of them we couldn't touch because we had that remediation company come in and demo the whole building as a whole. But the ones where they were able to sort of remove the small amounts of asbestos, remediate it, clear it with the monitor, our EF&S staff went in there with their equipment, knocked down the building once it was asbestos free, and we saved a lot of money doing that. We will, once we're done with this phase of the project, being the smaller buildings, we're trying to shrink that footprint of buildings for safety and also for surveillance security. There will be remaining the largest buildings that are still up there that we're not touching for the time being. The $5 million that we're talking about right now would be starting to deal with those buildings.
Any questions, Legislator Tuftel?
Sure. The 1.4 million for the Goshen garage, you said for the roof, is that a total like replacement or what's the size of that roof?
Brian, you
Off the side of my head, it's probably pretty large. I want to say probably 30,000 square feet, if not larger. There's 2 different age roofs there. The oldest roof is on the original part of the garage, from the 40s or 50s. And then there's no, it's a flat roof. It's a flat roof, but it's it needs attention. It's probably a decade past needs to be replaced.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question on the capital plan for DPW buildings. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. All right, did I miss anything? Yep, I got it all?
Good, I think we're good.
All right. Barry, I'm okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Let's say Noodle, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you all very much. Thank you.